Hey guys, I'm Heintje and one of my bikes is this Hardtail. Some of you have been asking about my experience with the bike. Well, before I could give my review, I wanted to test the bike a little bit more. And what better place to do so than a World Cup track in Leogang? Well, as the title of this video already spoiled, I didn't go there. I went to Winterberg instead. A place most people ride on a downhill or enduro bike. So how will it be on a hardtail? Let's roll the intro and find out, shall we? There are already a number of videos on my channel where I ride my hardtail, the latest one being of a day at the trails in Koblenz. One thing all of these videos have in common, they're all in wet conditions. I have my reasons to switch to the hardtail then, but this didn't give me a good comparison. For this day, I've upgraded my rear tire from a Recon Plus to an Aggressor, and with that gone from an Exo Plus to a double down casing. I was quite happy with the threads of the Recon, but I wanted a sturdier sidewall. Besides that I had some incidents with cuts in the sidewall in the past, the main reason is that I hope it will help absorbing some impacts, of course together with the insert. So far, I've shown some footage of the easiest line in the park, I'll deal to warm up on. However, the run you've been watching was later on the day. My riding just looks better after a couple of runs. Time to go check out the Freeride line, a bit steeper, but for the rest very similar. This one is quite popular and therefore has a lot of brake bumps. I know brake bump sucks, no matter what bike you're riding, but it felt even worse on the hardtail. In some corners I really had to pick suboptimal lines or slow down quite a bit. The rest of the line was fine, it has a couple of small jumps, but now I'm very experienced in absorbing cases on my jump bike, so these jumps were no issue for me. It doesn't take away from the fact that any jump with a less than perfect landing falls smoother on a full suspension bike. Now, before I go to the more technical lines, there's something I need your help with, namely my channel reaching the 1000 subscribers. All you have to do to help me is hit that button. I truly appreciate the effort. Next line I wanted to check out was the North Shore line. Still pretty smooth, but with some bigger jumps. This was still very early on the day, so I didn't feel like going big on the wall ride. And then I got to this point. Turns out the rest of the line is gone. Only option from this point is to continue on the Freeride line. Later on the day we figured out the bottom part is still accessible. In order to get there, leave the Freeride line at this point and follow the road. This section has some bigger jumps and here I started to notice some restrictions on my hardtail. Not so much on the capabilities of the bike, no, more on my mental confidence. With the Fully, it's a bit easier for me to commit and go big. Since it's an e-bike, the Fully is way more stable in the air and has the suspension to compensate for small mistakes. Probably, if I took the time to do more runs of this trail, I would eventually go just as big on this bike. But for this day, I had more trails to test the bike on. Time to go more technical, the black line. The closest thing they have to enduro trails. So the first real test. Again, no real surprises. Everything is rideable, only a bit rougher and therefore slower. The biggest difference is that it's easier to control my speed. That's because of the weight. This would probably be even better with a fully trail bike. Unfortunately, most of this line is also gone. Again, the bottom part is reachable, just absolutely not worth it. I have to say, with these two lines mostly gone, Bikepark Winterberg offers a lot less variation than it once did. It looks like they're working hard to restore the lines, however, in the meantime, keep this in mind if you're planning to go to Winterberg. No. Before I address the downhill line, the true test, I'd like to cover the loosely line first. This line might as well be built for hardtails. It consists of smooth berms and nice sized jumps. Only a few corners are placed with braking bumps. It's in these corners I'll lose my connection to my friend Those of you familiar with Winterberg know where this line leads to, the famous Winterberg road gap, a feature I never dared to do, so far. Everything else I've ridden this day I've done in the past on my fully, something that makes new features easier to learn. First do them on a bike that gives you more confidence, and once you know what to expect, go for the harder bike. However, if I wanted to do the road gap, my first time had to be on the hardtail, making it a tiny bit more scary. Thankfully my friend Giel already done it, so he could help me prepare. With a feature this consequential, I really want to cover all bases first. So I walked up to the edge and gave it a good look. Then I did a run up, getting a feel for the speed you get. I even watched Giel and some other riders clear the gap. Now I was fairly certain I could do it, so it was time to go for it, with Giel providing a tow in. As soon as I started, I noticed my foot wasn't placed perfectly on the pedal. Normally there's plenty of opportunity to correct this. In this case, however, I decided to abort my attempt while I still could. But I didn't give up that easily. A little later we gave it another go, this time making sure I placed my foot right. And it went as smooth as possible. What everyone is saying about this drop is true. It's so fucking easy. The hardest part is breaking away all the speed you gained while dropping. Don't feel bad if you don't feel it though. Even while it's easy, it doesn't take anything away from how mental it is. No matter what, it's a proper road gap. Well, I truly appreciate the tow-in. I kinda wonder how useful it was. Here you can see Giel pop off the edge, whereas I barely do anything. Looking to the side shots, the difference is very visible. I land on the sweet spot, just after the knuckle, and Giel lands almost 2 bike lengths lower. With that victory of the road gap, it's time to battle the downhill line. Can a hardtail conquer this rough line, or will the trail destroy the bike? In the top section, my cornering technique is the limiting factor. I can just bulldoze over all the roots and rocks with the speed I carry through the corners. While my friend has a lot of experience jumping, he just hasn't ridden that much technical terrain in his life. So purely on my experience, I could keep up with him, even though he's on a downhill bike. Next is the rock garden. Every time I think I should stop and look for lines, and every time I don't bother and just take whatever line seems okay, even now on the hardtail. My strategy was just enter with speed, try to avoid the biggest rocks, and for the rest just let the bike bounce, using the momentum and trying not to lose too much of it. So, while I show the rest of the line, let me conclude my experience on the hardtail. At some of the rough sections, line choice is a bit more important. However, on the hardtail you really notice how friendly the trails are built in Winterberg. Even on long lines, I still could bounce through it all. Next observation isn't really a surprise either. Skill is more important than the bike. If you have no trouble riding these trails on a fully, you can also ride them on a hardtail. Another thing I thought might be an issue is the strain on my body. At the beginning of the day, I stiffened up my fork a bit. This led to some pain in my wrist. However, when I softened it up again, the pain went away. Sometimes I did feel my feet and ankles, but it never hurt in any way. Of course, clearing jumps helped massively here. At no point during the day did I feel any pain in my back, and trust me, it was a long day on the bike. In case the following wasn't clear to you, I have to put in one big disclaimer. My hardtail is a so-called aggressive hardtail, meaning the head angle is pretty slack and it has a bit more travel in the fork, making it more suitable for this kind of terrain. Check out my bike check video if you want to know more about my bike. Now, would I suggest a hardtail for this work? Well, even though I had a lot of fun and didn't feel really compromised, I would not. Especially if the trails and features are new for you, then the confidence and forgiveness of a fully are great to have. With that, I've come to the end of the video. Now I have a question for you guys. Would you like to see me ride a hardtail more, trying to find the limit? Please let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, also please leave them in the comments. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you back for my next video. In the meantime, have fun riding. Houdoe!